So my name is Lars. Today I'm sitting here with the successful book author Matt Redding. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks, Lars.
Thank you for today. So you wrote a few successful books, and how did you got into writing books? Because I know you have been a teacher before for over 20 years.
Yeah, well, I wasn't just a teacher, I was a maths teacher, so you couldn't get further away from writing, really, and being, an author. But no, I had a real change in life, like a complete redirection in life, and that was, I went off to a Christian ministry school in California, and was there for 3 years. And really, during that time, I came alive in creativity, not just in writing, but in other creative arts as well. And when I came back, I started writing, and I had some ideas for things I needed to write, and I got on with it, and published 3 books in the first 3 years I was back.
All right. Oh, very good. Do you have all your 3 books here at the moment?
No, I've only got 2 because
brilliant.
I've sold out of one of them, so I need to order some more.
Oh, one is already sold out.
Well, I can get more.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, the first one I wrote was called Boundless. That's it. And inside it's got it's a full colour book with beautiful pictures by a great artist who lives in the northeast of England, which is not too far from where I live, and it's all prophetic art, which some people might think, what's that? But it's I guess it's very spiritual artwork, and people can just sometimes just look at the artwork alone and get a lot out of it, even without the rest of the book that I wrote. So that's a great book, and then the second one was called Unshakable, which I've got there, and the last book I wrote was called It's Easy, which I wrote with a friend of mine from California, a great author called Steve Backlund, and we wrote it together.
Oh, very good. So all your books are Christian books?
Yes, they are. Yeah, absolutely. They really the purpose of all of the books, the thing that ties them all together, I would say, is it helps people to change their thinking, and whether someone's a Christian or not a Christian, I would say that all of us have got some room for improvement in the way we think, and so sometimes we can be a bit too down in the dumps, or a bit depressive, or not very positive about things, and so we've all got some room for a more hope-filled and a more positive outlook on life, and because it helps you to have a better life, the way you think makes a big difference to you. So that's what they're all for, really. Oh,
that's really good. So if someone is not Christian, they would get something out of your books then as well?
I think people who they aren't primarily designed for a Christian audience, because they take the truths that are in the Bible and actually make them come alive. So I use declarations in all of the books, so it helps it. There might be a Bible verse which is a really good, powerful truth, but if it's just an intellectual truth and it doesn't really actually go deep down with people, then it's not going to transform their life. So they might sort of think they believe it, but people's actual beliefs are not necessarily just what they think they believe. People can think, I trust in God, He's my provider in all things. But then they might go and worry about money. And that wouldn't be unusual. And we've all got these gaps between what we think we believe and what we really believe. And what we really believe tends to come out in our emotions, in our reactions, and so on. So actually deliberately upgrading what we really believe, and actually taking charge of that, rather than just it being a product of our circumstances or what somebody once told us. So the last book I wrote was called It's Easy, and in there it takes 40 different topics, and about half of them are more spiritual type topics.
Okay.
And then about half of them are very practical topics. So some of the practical ones might be things like changing my thinking habits is easy, or changing my eating habits is easy, which people don't always think is, they think, oh, that's going to be hard. And so the purpose of the book, whatever the topic, is to help people to change that mindset from, oh, that's a really difficult thing, to, oh, here's some practical ways I can make it easier, and also some ways I can think about it and actually consider that thing to make it easier as well. Because straight away, when we think something's going to be hard, we just make it harder straight away just by thinking it's going to be hard. You know, like you get up in the morning and think, oh, today's going to be a bad day or something. And then sure enough, it probably will be a pretty bad day because you're already setting yourself up for that but the thing is with these books, they're not just positive thinking books, because there's plenty of those around, and I'd much rather have positive thinking than negative thinking, to be honest. You know, who wants to be a negative thinker, really? And some of us are sometimes, but you know, we want to change that in ourselves. But
I think very often very negative. So when I read your book, It's Easy, I would get the motivation to change my thinking.
Yeah, it would help you. It would help you. And it would particularly help those from a Christian perspective, because it takes the truths of the Bible and unpacks them for each of these topics. And actually so it's not just a positive thinking book, but it's grounded and founded in the Bible and what I would call biblical truth. And we live in a society where nobody really has any truth. You know, it's like, oh, you can believe that and I'll believe that and that's your truth and this is my truth. That postmodernistic idea of there is no truth. But as a Christian, you know, I don't really hold with that philosophy that there is no truth. I think yes, there is, and we can get to know Him.
That's really good. So that book, It's Easy. So where can you buy it? Is it on online?
Yes, yeah, you can buy all the books on Amazon. If you search for Matt Redding, but if you put one T in Matt, that will help. And then Redding is not like the town either. So just to make it easy, I'll just hold it up to the camera there, so you can see the name on the book. So if you search for my name on Amazon, you'll find all my books on there, and also Kindle editions and so on as well.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Kindle Unlimited as well for those people who like to rent a book rather than buy it. They can people can read as much or as little as they want to on platforms like that.
So the book, It's Easy. How was it working with Steve Buckland? Because he's a very, very successful author in all over the world. Because I even heard of him, and I don't know many authors. So how did you met him? How did that came along?
Well, while we were at ministry school in America, in California, we in the third year of the ministry school, you do an internship, and I was on his team, and I was doing writing and editing with him, and I had this idea for the book It's Easy at that stage, and shared it with him, and he said, "Let's write that together." So we did.
Oh, that sounds really amazing.
And the last chapter is subtitled how we wrote books, because Steve and his wife Wendy have written probably 20 at least 20 books between them, and great life-changing books, and they've got a ministry called Igniting Hope Ministries, and they ignite hope to people. Whoever they meet will leave a meeting with them more hopeful than they were before. And so I learned a lot of them, and one of the things was just that personal motivation to think, I want to write a book, what's stopping me?
Yeah, well, that sounds very good. I definitely will read It's Easy, and then I will put in the comments if that changed my life, so that everybody who's seen this video can see if it changed my life.
Awesome.
So what can people expect from your book, Boundless and Unshakable?
Well, Boundless and Unshakable, they are devotional books, which really give people something, first thing in the morning or last thing at night. They might want a bit of a reflection time, and it takes a Bible verse, but rather than it just being an idea that's a nice idea or something positive, it actually takes it and makes it into a declaration, so it becomes a personal truth. Rather than just an idea, it actually sinks down into the heart, not just in the head, and that's and they unpack, just in a couple of pages, each of the different things, and each of them has got enough there for a short devotional time once a day for a month in each of those books. So and with illustrations and so on as well.
So basically, it's a Bible verse. You explain it a little bit or something.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it unpacks the Bible verse, does a bit of explanation, also points people in the direction of some other bits of the Bible that might help them to reinforce that particular thought, that particular way of thinking, because they're all transformational ideas. We think that positive thinking and all these modern psychological ideas like cognitive behaviour therapy, we think these are all modern ideas, but actually there's the roots of these things and ideas from hundreds and thousands of years ago that were already there, because God's full of good ideas.
Oh, that's really good. So are you currently working on another book?
I am indeed. I'm working on a book called I Am at the moment, which is going to be 100 identity declarations. Again, all from the Bible. So things that where God speaks something over us as his people and says, you are a child of God, or you are loved. And so that, a simple truth like I'm loved can transform someone's life.
Yeah.
Because when someone actually really experiences that, rather than just, it's an idea, I'm loved, then that is transformational.
Yeah. Oh, I thought the audience is coming in now, but they already left again. So what's your plan in the future? Do you want to stay writing Christian books, or are you interested in something else? Because I know you're interested in sort of science fiction stuff or something, like Star Wars fan or something.
I have got some. I won't do too many spoilers, but I have got some ideas for some sci-fi novels as well, like a series of sci-fi novels. But we'll see. At the moment, I am so enthused about the life-changing nature of the books I'm writing, and when people are reading them, they're coming back to me and saying, I'm on my fourth go through this particular book, like Boundless. It's my fourth read through, and I'm still getting new things out of it, and that's encouraging. As a writer, you actually you want to help people, it's not just a money making idea or a nice job, but it's for me the motivation is actually helping people to be transformed, and that's a much better motivator than just I'll write a book and people might buy it.
All right. Oh, that sounds fantastic. So, and what do you do in your private life? Do you have favorite bands or something? Favorite songs?
Oh yeah, I'm a bit of an old school sort of person. So they used to call me 70s man when I was at university, because I liked all the old bands that were 60s and 70s, to be honest. Really, a lot of rock music, Led Zeppelin. Some of my favourites growing up were Eric Clapton. I had pretty much all of the Eric Clapton, back catalogue at one point, on record, proper record in the old days, and
those very big, large black things.
Oh yes,
yeah. You need to explain that. So
vinyl.
People under 30, they don't know what it is.
No, vinyl's coming back. We're back in fashion. That's and then Eurythmics. I was loved Eurythmics and Annie Lennox as well. And just but a real variety of bands, anything akin to Led Zeppelin and that sort of music. I can listen to that for hours, and then also I think my favourite album would be Rumours by Fleetwood Mac, and because I think it's just one of those classic albums where every song is really good, and they're not all the same. It's one of those. It's quite an eclectic mix of music on there, but it's just a brilliantly crafted album as well, and they all fit together superbly. Even though they're not really related as songs, but the whole album just meshes. So that would be my favourite album. The thing I'm probably most passionate about. You could say I've got 3 love languages. If people are not familiar with what love languages are, it's how your preferential ways that you feel loved if someone does a certain thing. Like some people have receiving gifts would be, they'd feel very loved if they got a gift, or for someone else it might just be, physical touch, it might be a hug or whatever, they would feel very loved. But for me, I would say it's three slightly more unusual things. Milk chocolate, Cadbury's especially, but other types too, would be one of them. Decaf Yorkshire tea would be another love language of mine. And then board games, and I don't mean Monopoly or Cluedo. I mean, I used to play those when I was a kid, but more interesting strategy type board games.
Oh, what games would you suggest to people?
Starter games. Some of the sort of, for people who are not necessarily gamers, but actually would enjoy a game that's a better designed game than something like Monopoly. Settlers of Catan is quite a good one for a starter. It's got a good mix of luck and strategy, because you don't want a game that's 100% strategy and there's no luck involved at all. Having just a mix of luck in there is makes it a better game. But having it all chance, and it's just completely down to chance who wins or does well. Again, that's not a good mix. So that's a great one. Another very popular one would be Carcassonne. So there would be two games which are good starter games because they're not too complicated, but they're deep and rich enough to play again and again. But I think my favourite is probably Caverna, which is a bit more geeky, and that's what you call a worker placement game, where you put your players down, you take turns to put your people on, a limited number of spots, and you collect resources based on where you put your people, and then you can buy things with those resources, and inevitably someone goes where you want to go, and it's one of these games where you can't do everything you want to. You might be trying to build up a certain thing, but you can't do everything you want to within the game. So you can tell my passion for board games is really coming out now, can't you?
Of course I can.
I've got loads of other ones. A great game I've got recently is called Century. There's I think 3 or 4 different editions of it, but it's basically the same idea. You're collecting things to buy, like gems, or depending on the version of the game. You're collecting stuff to try and buy some things which are victory points, but everybody else is trying to collect the things to get them as well. So you've got to be first. And if somebody gets ahead of you, have you got a backup plan? And the good thing about these sorts of games is you don't have like a winner who you can tell who's going to win like 2 hours before the game finishes, like in Monopoly. And you also don't have someone being knocked out after 15 minutes and just sitting there bored and watching for the next 3 hours while everybody else plays the game. That nowadays would be considered generally to be a bad design. So board games have moved on over the years from when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So the people know now which board games to buy, and they know which book to buy.
That's right.
So they got everything out of you today. So have you ever missed being a teacher? Is that part over for you? Or?
I think it probably is. I mean, I do teach in terms of I'll go and teach in ministry schools or in churches, but I'll be teaching the things that I'm writing about now rather than teaching mathematics, which I did before. And I enjoyed teaching very much, and even when I got to the end of my teaching career, I actually was enjoying it. I'd stepped away from being in senior leadership in teaching for a little while, and was back to being a form tutor and all these sorts of things, which I hadn't done for a number of years, and I was actually really quite enjoying having that bit more quality time with the kids, and teaching in secondary school I thoroughly enjoyed. Some parts more than others. You obviously got your difficult moments and things, but no, I enjoyed the job. And,
were you a teacher that the kids like, or were you a teacher that kids hate?
Ooh,
where they were like, oh no, Mr. Ray.
A bit of both actually, because sometimes I'd be quite strict. So I might have a class where they might be a little bit used to not doing as they're told, and then but I would make them do as they're told, and I had some classes where they didn't like me at first, But then they settle down into a routine, and actually it's interesting because you think that people don't necessarily want a routine, don't like being told what to do and made to behave and all that sort of things. But actually, people like stability, and they like a safe environment where they feel okay coming in. And although I was very strict, I was also fun at the same time. So I would always start my lessons off with like some maths games, and especially with the younger kids. And they enjoyed doing, they would enjoy doing those things. But also then they had to work, and they had to concentrate, and they couldn't mess around and so on. So I had classes where I would get told, "Oh, sir, you're savage," and then a few months later they'd be like, "Oh, we really want you to be our teacher again," because they were in a classroom where maybe it wasn't so well ordered or whatever.
Oh, that sounds very amazing. So my very last question, I would like to ask you something that you've never told in public before, so in any interview or in.
Right, I don't think I've ever told about the time when I was hit in the head by a double-decker bus. Which might explain a lot. Some people would say that explains a lot about my personality and character and so on. But
how did that happen?
Well, I was a school child at the time, and it stuck in my mind as one of those injustices in life. When you're growing up, there's always something in your life where it's not fair, right? We've all had those moments, and that would stick in my mind as one of those times when life isn't always 100% fair. So I mean, on the explanation side, I was messing around at the bus stop, waiting for the bus home, with my friends, and he swung his bag at me because I was annoying him, and I stepped back out of the way. Unfortunately, I went into the road, and a bus was passing on the head. So I opened my eyes to see a ring of light and a vague noise of and the ring of light turned out to be the sky, surrounded by all the other children who were leaning over to see if I was dead, and I could just see the ring of sky in the middle, and the shouting was the bus driver who, with me sort of mostly concussed, and the boy who swung his bag at me were sort of ushered onto the bus to explain ourselves, and the next day in school we got into quite a bit of trouble. In my case, for almost being killed by a bus.
Were you badly hurt?
No, I was okay. I think I was probably a little bit concussed, but by the time I got home, I was okay. I can't even remember if I told my parents at the time, because I would have had to tell them I was messing around.
Well, they will find out now.
They will indeed. I think they might know the story, but... Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Matt, for today. And I hope at some point we will have you as a guest again. It was a pleasure.
No, thanks for having me on, Lars. And and I'm sure I can come up with a different story next time.
Definitely.
Of the misadventures of Matt Redding.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you, if any of you read the books, hope you enjoy them, and leave me a review on Amazon if you do. Thank you.